Hello, and welcome back, everybody, to the Just One More Level podcast. I am your co-host Christian,
And I am your co-host, John.
and this week, we played a little bit of Devil May Cry.
Yeah. Yeah, not so much this week as in this week specifically, but very recent. It wasn't too long ago.
Yeah, I
I
mean, close enough.
yeah, yeah. We're going to talk about it this week at least.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so how is everybody? How is everybody doing out there in the audience? We apologize. We have been kind of up and down on uploading videos recently. We have had a lot going on, Christian. Why don't you tell them about what have we had going on before we jump right into the game?
Right.
Nothing much.
I mean, yeah, just normal life stuff for me mostly, just being busy, doing the stream, the PS2 gauntlet, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But Jonathan had some major changes happen recently. And
Yeah,
so yeah, we put a little bit of a pause on everything, but we're back.
that's okay. We're back and we're talking about Devil May Cry on the PlayStation 2. Where does this rank, Christian, on the on the
Ooh.
gauntlet, on the top 15 or
Ooh.
10 or whatever it was?
Of the
Was
games that
this
I've played, oh, you mean in like the worldwide sales? Was this one of
the
them? I don't remember.
worldwide sales? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I can't
world.
remember either. I don't think this was one of them, but it's definitely one of the top titles on the PlayStation 2. It spawned a huge franchise of sequels of video games and a remaster or remake, sorry, at one point. Remasters as well, but a remake at one point, and then they backpedaled on that and just came out with another sequel.
Right,
um
right, yeah.
and then there was the anime that only lasted for a short amount of time, but
Never seen
I
that. I've heard it's
actually
really good, but I've
I
never
did
actually watched it
actually see
myself.
it. I
Yeah?
have seen the anime. It is pretty good. I'm
Hmm.
not gonna lie. It's pretty good, and it does stay pretty truthful to the game here, um, as we will talk about. So tell me, Christian, what do you think of Devil May Cry? Because I don't know how much I really have to say about it, other than a few comments about what it reminds me of. But you go
Right.
ahead first and talk about some Devil May Cry.
Yeah, so I mean, well, first off, for anybody that doesn't know, Devil May Cry is a very showy hack and slash game. You play a child of a demon, so he's like half demon or whatever. He runs around with a big sword, has some demon abilities and some cool guns, and he does cool tricks. If you're watching the video on YouTube, you'll see how good he is with his guns very soon, if it hasn't already happened in the video. As he blasts away a motorcycle that is thrown at him with nothing but ebony and ivory, his two guns. And he was just like one of the original badasses on the PS2, I would say, right? Like he kind of filled that role. It was a very early game for the PS2 too, coming out around 2001. So like one of the first badass kind of adult characters on the PS2, right? And yeah, you're going around fighting all these twisted monsters and stuff, trying to I don't know, do demon things, half demon things. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think most people play for the story, at least in the beginning. But of course, the game has spawned sequels at this point. The lore is much more deep than what it used to be. So, like, there is that. But
yeah,
yeah, there's games that's you could definitely compare it to, and I'm sure that'll end up coming up here soon.
yeah,
Games that maybe
yeah,
came out later and kind of did what they were trying to do better.
yeah. Yeah, so that is an interesting thing to bring up because I was gonna mention, of course, this game reminds me of Castlevania. No, this game reminds me of God of War.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
the biggest thing I
That's the
could
one.
compare it to.
Yeah.
It has very quick and snappy action, right?
Right.
Very over the top violence. That very visceral, satisfying kind of combat that we talked about with God of War. It has a similar movement style. It has fixed camera angles that move around as your character moves around on the map.
Yes.
So it kind of controls the way that you look at the character and the environment that way. Um, so that's pretty interesting. Although I will say the way fixed camera is handled in this game reminds me a bit more of Resident Evil, more
100%.
rather
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, rather than God of War. The way it's more kind of static.
Yes.
God of War, I think, did a much better job at following the character and moving, even though it's stationary in the terms of it's not movable by the player. but
Right.
it does move and follow Kratos around. That's a huge benefit. But I didn't actually think about it, but I've always thought of Devil May Cry as a ripoff of God of War,
Oh, no,
but
not
this
even
actually
close.
came out first.
Yeah, 2001. God of War
Yeah,
came out around 2005, if I remember
right.
correctly.
Yeah,
So,
way
if
way further
anything,
down the
God
line.
of War is like a ripoff of this game, you know.
Hmm.
And like, but honestly, like, Devil May Cry is a good game in my opinion. Don't get me wrong; it is a good game. The
Yeah,
difficulty I
I
think is a
really
little
like
bit
it.
extreme. Like
Hmm.
there's some issues with that there, but it's still a
Yes.
lot of fun. And it's also I don't know if it's really like relevant or not, but
Okay.
like Devil May Cry is a Japanese game, right? Made by a Japanese studio. And you mentioned Resident Evil, that's also a Japanese studio.
Right.
Um and that's why I was wondering if maybe like the fixed camera angle thing, maybe it has something to do with that, whereas like God of War is basically just the Western take on Devil May Cry, right? That was a Western studio
Okay.
taking this formula that somebody else made and doing their own thing with it. Um
Okay. Okay.
like I said, I don't know if it's actually relevant, but Capcom wasn't Capcom also the Resident Evil guys?
Uh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's probably some sort of link there between what
Okay.
the whole aesthetic and the fixed camera angles and the slightly more grown up game and whatnot. I don't know for sure if there is here.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just speculating.
I
But yeah,
think
and
that makes sense.
then
Yeah.
God of War came out and it just kind of did, in my opinion, it did everything Devil May Cry 1 did at least, but better, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I think that's fair.
yeah,
Because it has here's a good example. Okay, so in God of War, sometimes there's little portions of the game where they lock you in a space and you have to collect a certain number of things or solve a puzzle or defeat an enemy to move on to the next area. The first area that you come into, Devil May Cry, is one of those type of areas. You have to collect a certain number of red orbs as the game teaches you how to play it, and then you come to a door to unlock this door to move on. So I got stuck. This is the third time I've played through this part, and I do not know how I forget about it every time. It's the first thing in the game. It's
right.
so easy to do. All you have to do is go towards this door that has this red aura around it, and you'll get a message. And it says exactly what you need to do to open the door.
It does. Yes, yes.
And for some reason, I always just skip going straight to the door because for some reason I remember I don't need to go to it right away. And I run around this opening area in vain for Lord knows how long before I finally remember and go back to the door
Uh,
and use the orbs and progress with my life. And it's silly, but I will echo what you said. The difficulty spike at the very beginning of the game is a little shocking.
yeah.
It throws you for a loop and it
It's
keeps you
it's
on your toes.
it's a very difficult game for sure. And like
Yeah.
I don't know. I played through so originally I played through the first couple of hours on normal mode or whatever the hell that's called, right? And then I actually played through the entire game on stream and I actually restarted on easy mode to finish the game. Because there was one specific boss. I could have beat him eventually. I'm sure because I
Sure.
got close a few times, but like I
Okay.
didn't want to on stream just do the same thing over and over again. Anyways, regardless, the point is it's very difficult. It's a very hard game at times, man.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and there seems to be just big spikes. Like I said, I didn't have much trouble. I probably died a couple times. I don't remember for sure during my first couple of hours. But then I got to that boss, and it was literally just like an hour and a half of just dying repeatedly to the same guy over and over and over again. It's insane.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so the
That's
difficulty
how
is
I am
definitely a
on the
problem.
boss that I'm on.
And then easy mode is too easy, in my opinion. At least for me, easy because like those are the only two options: easy and normal. The first time you play through it, right? And
Right. Yeah.
normal was it was a little bit too difficult for my first playthrough, at least on stream. So I went to easy, and then I just steamrolled everything, like clear until the end of the game. Like it took
Okay.
very little thought for me to play through the game at that point, and so there
Okay.
was no
Gotcha.
like good balance there. And then the thing
Okay.
that really ticked me off about the game, the
Okay.
my biggest issue that I had with it was that
Uh-huh.
whenever you play on easy mode, it changes the control scheme for you.
Mm.
The
How
control scheme
so?
that it gives you on easy mode is so much better. You don't have to hold down a button to shoot. You can just press a
Okay.
shoot button. That's one of them. I think the dodge roll or jump or something like that. I forget what the other change is, but there was another change like that. And like it just they seem to make the control scheme needlessly difficult on normal mode, whereas on easy mode they corrected all of that. They made it more more or less what you would expect from a game. Like, why do I have to hold L1 to shoot my gun? Why can't I just shoot my gun at stuff?
That might
Like
be
that
another holdover from Resident Evil because in Resident Evil you have to hold an action button to shoot your gun.
That's true. That's
So,
true. You do.
yeah.
That's actually a fair point. But like they
Mhm.
obviously realized that the other method was either A better or B easier because they
Right.
put the other method in an easy mode. So why didn't they just keep that for the normal mode? And it's little
Right.
things like
Yeah.
that. And if there was a customization option, like if I could play normal mode but choose to have the in my opinion better control scheme, then 100% I would have. Now, to be fair, I don't think that really changes the difficulty of the game very much or anything like that. It's just like why not let people do play the game how they want with the control scheme that they want? That kind of irritated me about the game.
Yeah, that's weird. Because usually the control scheme isn't factored into difficulty. It'll just
No,
like
yeah,
even in old games when you didn't have all of the capabilities of modern games where you could just map controls, they usually had two or three you could choose from, right? Control scheme
yeah,
A, B, and C, and then the difficulty slider would just buff or nerf enemies and buff or nerf you, right? That's
right, yeah,
kind of
yeah.
how difficulty traditionally works. But yeah, that's that's pretty frustrating. I this horse, Christian, in the first area as well. There's a big statue for anybody that will eventually watch this on a video. There's a big statue of a horse and rider right in the middle of this area that you're in the first spot. And there's some kind of secret if you can get up on top of that horse and then jump over to the side. There's like a secret area and some kind of orb or something you can collect. And I also spend a good 20 to 30 minutes of my time
I
trying and failing to jump on top of that horse statue.
Well, later on in the game, you get the ability to like double jump and
Oh, okay.
like jump in
Yeah,
the
that's
air and
over.
stuff like that. So that's probably
Okay.
what that's for. Kind of harkening back to your joke line that you had of it being
Yeah.
Metroidvania like.
Yeah.
It kind of is in some regards, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I said,
A
you
little
you
bit.
unlock abilities later on that let you do more exploration, reach areas that you couldn't before, or
Mm.
things like that. For sure, that definitely
Oh,
happens.
just the general theming of your first area here. I don't imagine that you stay in the castle for the entire game. Um,
Most of it,
I most of it, but
yes.
yeah, this castle is definitely it definitely has a Castlevania vibe, just in
Right.
decor, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just because it's an old castle.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I definitely don't think it was intentional in any way. I mean, although you do kind of look like Alucard, I'm not gonna lie. Not in
um.
dress or in character design, but in like just you have light colored hair, you have a sword, you run at
Yeah.
superhuman speeds, you know, move
um
around in a superhuman manner. It's I don't know. It
so
all ties together.
if we can continue the comparisons with God of War here though,
Sure.
because I think that's the most direct comparison for most people, right? Some
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
other
yeah.
things that I think God of War did better was, I mean, the
Mhm,
difficulty, as I mentioned.
mhm.
The control scheme I definitely think was better in God of War than it was in the first Devil May Cry here. um but something really strange about Devil May Cry, and I believe this exists in, I don't know if the most modern game, but I'm pretty sure they did it in Devil May Cry 2 and 3 too. I could be wrong, and someone's welcome to correct me if I am. But the whole mission setup, right? Instead of just playing through the game, you
Right.
technically play through missions. And that's the
Yeah,
sort of thing I would have expected on like the PS1 or something like that, because like
yeah,
maybe they're splitting up the areas to save on memory or whatever. But no,
yeah.
like whenever you are on mission 2, you can go back and explore the area from mission 1, and then whenever you're
Exactly.
on
Yeah.
3 you can go back and so like I don't understand why they split it up into missions and didn't just have an open world like God of War does. And I use open world loosely here. Obviously it's still somewhat
Right.
corridor based in both games, but like why put it in these distinct chunks of gameplay with an end screen and everything in between each one,
Right.
you
Well,
know?
yeah, it's other than save points, I suppose, but you can save at any time.
Right.
Like you can just pull up a menu and save the game. You don't have the Resident Evil setup where you have to collect an item to save. You don't have
Right.
save stations like in God of War,
Yeah.
where you have to find a place in order to save
But
your
like
game. You can literally just pull the menu up.
even
So
if
I don't
they
know
did though, I
why.
feel like they could have
Yeah,
easily added save stations throughout the castle, right?
yeah,
Like little
true.
if they
Yeah,
didn't want to have the save anywhere and still wanted you to have like those in between moments, they could have did like most RPG games, JRPG games, and
yeah,
like Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that, where you have a safe room. And Resident Evil is another perfect example of that. Just have
right.
a safe
Safe
room
room.
dotted around every once in a while, and that's your area that
Mhm.
you relax and save in and whatnot, and you know you're safe here. Like
Right.
nothing bad's gonna happen to you. So
Yeah,
I
you
don't.
build
I
your
the
strategy around going to those rooms to visit
Yeah,
to
exactly.
manage your inventory and to save your progress, etc. Yeah, that's yeah, that's
The
I think that would have been really cool. Another God of War comparison here is the rating that pops up on screen for your moves.
Oh,
Whenever
yeah,
you
yeah.
whenever you fight an
Yeah,
enemy and you kill an enemy, it has like just like generic phrases that pop up depending on
yeah.
how well you executed the attack and whether or not you got hit it and whether or not
Mhm.
you could keep up the combo and stuff like that. It'll say dull or cool or great and
Amazing, epic.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and God of War did something similar, but with more like graphic and visceral sounding compliments or criticisms
Did it? I
of your
honestly
move.
don't remember that.
Yeah, God of War says stuff like bloody or
Oh, yeah,
gory or
it
stuff like
did
that.
pop up and say something like that, didn't it? It's been a
In
long
God of
time
War?
since I've played through like the original God of War outside of the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember it that clearly, but I do kind of remember
Yeah, it pops
little
up
things
and
like
it
that
it
popping
it,
up. I
it says
remember
stuff
more
like that.
clearly the combo counter that would pop up. I remember that
Okay.
pretty clearly.
Yeah.
Like where it would
Mhm.
just straight up tell you know how many hits you've gotten in a row or whatever.
Oh,
Um
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I don't really remember that. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure you're right. I'm not disagreeing with you, but like that memory is just gone from my head.
Yeah. It's not as noticeable, I think, because it kind of like it kind of blends in with the hit count because you have your hit count
Okay.
displayed at the bottom,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like right beside that in a smaller font.
Yeah.
Devil May Cry brings more attention to it, I think, because it has like
Okay.
different colors for the different
Right,
ratings.
right, right.
Like it has dull, it's like yellow, and cool is green, and it kind of progresses from there. But God of War, I think, just left it like a static color, and
Okay.
then it just showed up beside your hit count. But I could be mistaken. Maybe I'm blending it
I
together
think you're
because it
wrong.
reminds me.
Wrong. Did I say wrong? I think you're right.
Yeah, I think you're
I think you're
wrong.
right. I think you're wrong,
Yeah, no,
John.
I
No,
think you're
I
totally
meant
wrong.
right.
Yeah.
I think I meant right. No, I think you're right. I think
Hey,
it was there. I just, like I said, that
okay.
memory just got plucked out of my head or something. Like
Oh,
it
no,
just
you're
doesn't exist
fine.
anymore.
Yeah. Hey,
But
something that happens, guys, if you didn't know, when you make a YouTube channel and you play a bunch of games and do a bunch
oh
of
my
videos,
god,
things
I've
just kind of
played
blend together
in
after
the
a
past
while.
like 5 months. I've played like 70 some video games.
Right.
It's
Yeah. It's kind of a weird thing. I used to think about that sometimes because there were YouTubers that I was a fan of, and I would be a part of their fan community, and I would like talk amongst other fans on like Reddit or in the comments or
Mhm.
something like that. And the YouTuber I'd watch would make some kind of comment about their earlier videos or their earlier work, and they're like, "Oh, when did I even play that game? Wow,
Oh my
that's
lord.
been a while. That's been like a couple years ago. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't really remember what happened there." And I would think like, "How can you not remember? What do you mean? I just watched this
Uh,
video the other day, and if it's fresh in my mind,
uh,
why wouldn't it be fresh
why
in your
wouldn't it
mind?"
be?
That
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. What do you mean? And then I try to think about videos that I've done on my own channel, and I'm like,
Or the stuff we've done with the
right.
podcast. I mean,
Yeah,
like I couldn't
right.
sit here and tell you even half of the games that we played on the podcast.
Oh my god, yeah, I know.
Lord.
But whenever I think about it or when I scroll past it on Steam or something, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember we did that for the
Oh yeah, of
podcast. That was
course, of
pretty
course.
cool."
I think that
Yeah,
probably also has something to do with the whole ADD ADHD thing too, though,
sure.
right? It's
Yeah.
like out of sight, out of mind sort of mindset there.
Yeah, yeah.
That we
That's
have
what I say
like
about my toes now that my stomach's growing.
yeah.
That's It's,
Your toes just you forget they exist now,
yeah, well, I'll
because you don't
just
see
feel
them.
them in bed, you know what I mean? Like, I'll just, like, move my feet around to try to get comfortable in bed, and I'll feel like a scrape, and I'm like, "Is that my cat? No, it's my toenail. It's my toenail. I
Oh
forgot
my
to clip
lord.
them because I can't my belly's too big, I can't see them.
Oh my lord.
It's dad
Anyways,
bod, Christian. That's what's
dad
happening to me
bod.
now.
Getting the dad bod. How long
Yeah,
till we can
anyway,
call you daddy?
that
That
is not what is happening to Dante. Dante is a fit gentleman who,
right.
runs some kind of business. I'm not sure how
It's
much I'm
I
gleaning from the game or, if it's completely from the anime, but I remember at least in the anime, he runs a kind of bounty hunter service, and
yeah, I think it's
he
like a devil a demon hunting service, I think.
yeah,
Kind of
yeah,
deal,
like,
right?
yeah, he just kinda chills at his shop, and his shop, is a place that you can visit to hire him for commissions to, hunt and kill some sort of monster or whatever, and I don't really know why it's called Devil May Cry. I'm
Well, it
assuming
wasn't
that's a riff
originally.
on Devil May Care,
Well, in the
you know?
beginning, it wasn't even called Devil May Cry. At the beginning of
Okay,
this game, it was called Devil Never Cry or something like that. Um, and then at the end of the game,
okay,
they actually changed the name of the shop to Devil May Cry.
okay. Like, like I said, as like a riff on the phrase "Devil May Care," like,
Maybe.
to insinuate a real casual attitude about something that's important, and, you pun that up with the whole demon theme, and you got something going here, I don't know. If anybody knows, please tell me, because 'cause I'm sure I sound like an absolute fool to anybody that's a fan of Devil May Cry, or that's a fan of English language and knows origins of phrases and words. I'm sure I'm just making a fool of myself over here. Let me know. Please let us know in the comments below
um,
how much a fool I make of
yeah, it
myself.
was originally Devil Never Cry.
Okay.
Um, uh,
Makes sense, I guess.
or is that
Uh,
what they changed it to? I don't remember. One or the other. Point is, they changed the name either at the beginning of the game or the end of the game, and like one of our viewers is pointing out, it kind of fits in with the story of the end of the game, because there's like a heartfelt moment between two of the characters, and yeah,
oh, I see. Okay.
so yeah.
Okay.
But
That's my fault for not
anyways,
playing that far.
that's
And
way beyond the 2 hour mark of the
yes.
of the
Yeah, yeah,
podcast that we do though.
that's a that's about yeah, that's about what I got to. I think I got to, like, an hour and a half this time, and,
Right,
I had played it somewhat recently, I think within the past year. I had just played it from on my own,
right.
and I had made it about 2.5 hours that time, so I kinda combines what I remembered from that time from what I did this time, and caught it about 2 hours, I'd say. But I had a fun at I had a fun of ton. I had a ton of fun playing this game, Christian.
I had a fun a ton too.
I really did. I would play just one more level of Devil May Cry. I definitely would. Granted, we have some bigger fish to fry at the moment, but I definitely will in the future, I think, try
Yeah,
to play through the games.
yeah. I think it's worth
I
it.
wanna experience the rest of the franchise. The first one is the only one I've ever played. I've
Right.
seen a little bit of, I think, either 4 or the remake played.
I don't
I
know.
think I think I saw my friend playing it, and it looked amazing. I don't remember which game it was, but I remember that Dante's brother is a character, and I think you get to
Yes.
play as
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. Yeah, you do at
So,
some point. I forget his
okay.
name, but
Yeah.
anyways, regardless, I definitely would play just one more level, and I think it's worth
Yeah.
playing. Um, if you're into hack and slash games, it's kind of cool to see where it came from. The
Oh, yeah.
genre. I'm
Yeah.
sure there were hack and slash games on the PS1 or whatever, but Devil May Cry is definitely one of the games that popularized the genre. And
Yep.
if you don't like hard games or you find the game too hard or whatever, the game's relatively short. I fully,
Mhm.
wholeheartedly suggest just starting over on easy mode.
Mhm.
The game is more enjoyable on easy mode for the most part,
Mhm.
at least until you get pretty good at the game.
Mhm.
But just if you're roughly at my skill level in video games, though, don't expect much of a challenge. If you want a challenge, play on normal mode. But if it gets too hard, yeah, just start over. That's what I had to do. I was like 2 hours ish and had to start over. And
Right.
since I already knew what to do for the most part, it only took me like 45 minutes to get back to where I was on easy mode. Um,
Sure.
But yeah, it's really
Yeah.
interesting to see where everything came from and to kind of compare it to what we have now in the hack and slash genre.
Plus, it's just
Uh,
super cool, right? It's just
yeah, well, and
it's super
that's the thing.
stylized. The character's really
That's
cool. His stuff that he can do, like the abilities and the guns that you
hmm
get, the swords and everything like that, it's just cool.
yeah,
It's perfect. It's a
it's
perfect time
anime God of War,
capsule.
man. That's
It's anime
that's
God of War. Yeah. It's a perfect time capsule, I think, of like early 2000s culture of what you and your
edge
friends would
culture
have
at least.
considered
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of, I think, the niche they were trying to fill too. You know, they wanted to appeal to teenage boys that thought, demons were cool, big swords were cool, guns were
Right.
cool, cutting things in
Absolutely.
half,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
the karate, not karate per se, but all of the cool fighting techniques and all that shit. Like
Yeah, like, you
that's definitely
definitely
what they were going for.
after an afternoon of playing this game, you would have closed it out with watching a DVD of, like, Underworld or,
Yeah.
Ultraviolet or something like
Yeah,
that, you know
yeah.
what I mean? Or,
Pounding back
the
Monster
OG
Energy
Resident
drink
Evil.
or Red Bull at the time, I guess, probably would
Right.
have been more popular. Yeah. Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Uh-huh. Totally.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that
okay.
was the kinda I guess it's a product of its time, Christian.
Yeah, well, and
It
it still stands up to this day, though. I guess
it
is
does.
the point I was trying to get across. Like, it's
Uh-huh.
still a good
Yeah.
game to this day. It's just
Right.
there are definitely better games out now, in my opinion. As
Yep.
far as like playing goes, story
Yep.
is very subjective. But I personally also enjoy the story. So far, I haven't played through the other ones, but I enjoy the story more of like God of War or something like that as well. Uh, but I've
Gotcha.
only played
Gotcha.
DMC one to completion, so yeah,
Okay.
maybe that'll
Okay.
change in the future when we eventually cover the other games.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I do have the entire original trilogy on PS2.
Oh yeah,
So I would look forward to playing it. So
I would look.
without any further ado, yes, we would play just one more level of this game. And Christian, you want to tell the good folks where you can find us?
I
Since we
mean,
forgot to
wherever
do
you
that
want to
at
find us,
the
man.
yeah, we
We
forgot
have
to
our
do that at the
website.
beginning,
We
like we
That's
were going
whatever.
to.
We have our website, we have our YouTube, we have the Twitch channel.
Yep.
I mean the links are going to be down below. You guys can
Yes.
find us if you want to. Just
Hmm.
one more level podcasts with an S. You can find us just about anywhere by searching for that. So that's all
Yep.
you need to know. It's fine.
Mhm.
If you're watching
All
this
right.
video, you probably already know how to find us. Let's be real.
Right, right. But until next time, thank you everybody so much for listening and watching. We appreciate it because you don't have to, but you do. And like I said, we appreciate it. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you all. Have a wonderful afternoon, morning, night, whatever it is, wherever you are, and we'll see you next
Yep.
time with some Toki Tori.
Toki Tori. All right.
Couldn't
Bye-bye.
be more different than this game.
No.
Bye
No.
bye.
Bye-bye.